Hey everyone, my name is Madison and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a comparison between Notability and Good Notes. I am a current student at CU Boulder studying aerospace engineering, and I have used my iPad for about 9 months for taking notes. I have the 2018 iPad Pro and I absolutely love it. It is like the best purchase I honestly can say that I've ever made. I highly recommend getting an iPad for studying, taking notes, no matter what grade you're in, and I wish I had done so sooner. That being said, there are definitely different preferences you all will have when it comes to taking notes. Now please keep in mind that this is my experience. I am not an expert on either of these apps, and it all is about what works best for you. I do not have the most picturesque, satisfying and beautiful notes, but it's important to remember what works for you. I personally use Notability. I have used Notability last spring semester and I'm currently using it now, but for one of my summer classes I took this year, I decided to give Good Notes a try. I used it for the whole summer and at the end of the day just decided that it is not what's best for me. That being said, I thought I would do a comparison because I can definitely see why everyone likes the one they do. Either way, let's get started. Alrighty, so like I said earlier, I have the iPad Pro. This is the 2018 version. So it does have the 2nd generation Apple Pencil, which is just a magnetic charging one, and I absolutely love this. I bought this case off Amazon. It's this nice green color with the camera hole in the back. I love this so much because it bends and is magnetic on the edge there, and has a perfect little slot for me to charge my pencil while I am not using it. This also just helps me not lose it, and there even is a little stand for it. Alrighty, so this is what my iPad home screen looks like. I just have one of the generic Apple ones. And today I'm going to be showing y'all the differences between Notability and Good Notes. This is what the home screen of each of them looks like. On the left hand side here we have Good Notes, on the right hand side we have Notability. Over here in Good Notes, everything can be organized either in folders or in notebooks. You can also put notebooks inside of folders, which is really nice. You can make it kind of like a planner where you can decorate the cover, pick something with some sort of a pattern, whatever you'd like, and you can also change the type of paper. So you can pick dotted, square, ruled narrow, ruled wide. There's also fun things like Cornell, single column, 2, 3 columns, accounting, planners, and music paper. I typically either go for the dotted or the square. The blank is nice, but I feel like my lines are not as straight. You can also choose whether you want landscape or portrait, which is really nice. You can choose your language, and you can choose the size of paper. You can also make a title, so we're going to be calling this one Example. When you open it up here, this front cover will be the cover that you made. You can write on top of it, add fun titles, whatever you'd like. And over here is where your paper is going to be. One of the main differences between Notability and Good Notes is that on Good Notes, your paper swipes and you pull to release and add a new page. Otherwise, a new paper won't just pop up on its own. It is really nice zooming. And like I said, again, I did choose the dotted paper for this example. I personally prefer the type of paper where it's a continuous roll, so I'm not swiping to the side, which is what Notability has. On here, at the top, we have our little toolbar. We have pencil, eraser, highlighter, various shapes, selecting, adding images, taking a photo, adding a text, and then I am honestly not quite sure. I think this is a remote or something. Don't really know what this button is. Under this pencil here, you can choose either fountain pen, ball pen, or brush pen. And of course, you can disconnect your Apple Pencil down here. The fountain pen has a style that looks like this. It is a bit more pressure sensitive, but I feel like it is just very bumpy and inconsistent, as y'all can see there. The ball pen here is just uniform, not pressure sensitive whatsoever. And then we have the brush pen, much more pressure sensitive than the fountain pen at the beginning, as far as the variation in pressure goes. Typically I use the brush pen, but again, it can be very chunky with just a light amount of pressure. Over here on the right hand side, you can change the style or the size of your pen, which is really, really nice. This is something that Notability does not have. Notability has 12 fixed sizes that you can choose from instead of a varying marker or pencil size based on the millimeters. Typically I go with something around 0.7 to 0.9. Over here we have our eraser. You can choose on or off to select erasing the entire stroke. If it is off, it'll erase just like this. Again, you can choose the various sizes of your eraser on the right hand side here. Or you can ask it to erase the entire stroke, in which case it'll erase the entire mark that you made in that one continuous line. You can also turn on Erase Highlighter Only, which is very nice. And one common practice between Notability and Goodnotes is that the highlighters highlight underneath the marking. So as you can see here, when I first go over it, it looks like it is going to be highlighting over, and it'll snap underneath. You can also make straight lines with this by pressing down and holding, and it will autocorrect to a straight line. Up on the right hand side here we have a undo and a redo button, which is really, really nice. Notability does not have a redo button, rather you use your fingers to do that, but there is an undo button on both apps, which is very handy. I feel like my handwriting looks very, very inconsistent with this app. It definitely does have to do with the brush I am using, but I personally have not found a brush that I like more. I feel like my handwriting always just looks so shaky, and like I said, inconsistent, or if I were to try to replicate something again, it would not look remotely the same. One big perk of both of these apps is how responsive they are. I was very, very impressed with how responsive the pen is to every single movement. Like I said earlier, Goodnotes does have a shape tool, which is very, very nice. You can change the size of your shapes with the same little dial up here. If you make a shape, it should autocorrect for you. The one thing about this is, depending on your pen type, it will not make it completely uniform. If you can see this little bump right here, that is just based on my pressure variation, which I really, really do not like. And even though it autocorrected and snapped into this somewhat circle looking thing, you can definitely still see how there's bumps and how it's not a perfect circle. With the highlighters and the pens up here on the right hand side, just to the left of the size variator, you can add some highlight colors. If you want more than the given ones, you can hit custom and find something here. You can also move around here on this little color wheel doodad. On both of these apps, if you highlight over yourself, you will be adding more color. So for example, you highlight over and it will be darker with each layer. I personally like this because sometimes I will organize my notes where the headers are 3 layers, the subtitles are 2, and then the important information is 1. This just adds some variation by keeping your notes consistent with the same color theme. Now moving on to Notability. On the left hand side of Notability you have dividers, and within these dividers you have subjects. So I personally have one for each semester, and within here I have my different classes. Within your classes up here on the right, you can add and to create a new note. You can either import something or you can search. Typically I just make a new note, and like I said with this is a continuous page. So when you write onto one page, it'll automatically create a new page for you here. This just makes notes super, super nice and easy. Like I said earlier, I do prefer the continuous scroll. Up at the top here, you can add a title. We will call this one Sample. and it shows you the date and time that it was created at. This makes it super handy to find a note section or a set of notes that you wrote, let's say, a week ago or from some specific lecture, and you don't exactly remember which set of notes that was, you just know the date. Up at the top here we have our toolbar, text, pencil, highlighter, eraser, our scissor, and our moving tool. One big perk of Notability over Goodnotes is that Notability actually has a microphone, so you can record while you're doing your lecture. You can go back and watch what you wrote while you talked. This makes it super handy if you're someone who falls behind, likes to just have the audio to go back and listen to, or whatever you might find handy. Here on the right hand side we have this plus button where you can also add photos. There's a camera, document scan, GIF, web clip, and sticky notes. I don't use many of these other tools aside from the photo library and the stickies. You can add whatever you'd like and move it around, reshape it. Typically I will write my reading assignments or my homework assignments up here. Which is really, really nice. And again, you can move these around, resize them however you'd like. You can also change the paper. So there's various paper colors, backgrounds, and different styles. So whether you want lined, grid, dotted, or unlined. And within these three categories, there's also different sizes of lines, grids, and dots. The same for that goes with the background paper. Up here on the far right hand side, there's a pages tab. You can see all of your pages, bookmark, and search within the pages. You can hit these three little dots to change your paper style. So if I wanted a black background, white, big dots, small grid, whatever you'd like, you can change that back here. My personal preference is one of the mid-sized grid papers. I have tried the dots and I just don't like it as much. But I will say I wish the grid was a bit more sheer. Or just like with Goodnotes, you can change the sizes, but like I mentioned earlier, there are only 12 fixed sizes for pen and highlighter marks. Typically, I use these top two on the right here and this far left one in the middle. Typically, I use this big one for headers and this small one right here for my actual notes. It comes with two main fixed colors, but you can add more as you like. Same thing here with this kind of color gradient. You can choose a color. If you like it, you can hit the check mark and it will get added to your library of various colors. Rather than having pen and pencil names like Goodnotes does, Notability has a pressure sensitive marker, a non-pressure sensitive pencil, and then a dash and a dotted line. I typically use a pressure sensitive one, which just looks like this, while the non-pressure sensitive one looks like this. I feel that the pressure sensitive one gives my notes so much more character and also makes them a bit more bold and easy to read. There is also this dotted line here, which is really, really nice, and a polka dotted line. These are features that Goodnotes does not have. This dotted line, if you can make dotted lines, obviously. You can also, if you press and hold, it will autocorrect to a straight line. Same thing with the dotted line, which is really, really nice. Zooming in close, you can see the difference between the dotted and the polka dotted line, or the dotted and the dashed, as you will. One other new great feature of Notability is the arrow function. If you want to create a perfect arrow, draw a straight line and a little triangle at the end, and it will autocorrect into this arrow. You can move it around as you like, change the size, whatever you want. This is super, super handy. You can even change the style and the color of it as you'd like, and change it to a polka dotted or dashed line. Just like Goodnotes with the highlighter, the highlighter writes underneath your text, but rather than showing it above initially, it is always underneath. And like I mentioned earlier, it does layer very nicely. So if I drew one layer and drew another layer on top, it would be darker. I could continue that process until I get the gradient and the effect that I like. And just like with Goodnotes, the eraser tool, you can either erase everything at once, or you can turn on partial, which will erase just the part of it that you like. I typically use whole, as I find it is just very easy and convenient. Like I mentioned earlier, Notability does have an undo button here, but it does not have a redo button. You can use the scissor tool up here to select and move things as you'd like. You can resize, rotate, change the style and the color of it. You can even duplicate, cut it, copy it, convert it to text, or delete. This convert to text function does cost an extra fee, which I have not installed because I do not really use it. And I do not see the need, to be honest. And on both apps, there is a little export button here that allows you to export your notes either to your email, Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, Box, iTunes, Print, etc. Typically, I send my notes to my Google Drive or my email depending on what I'm doing with them. You can customize your notes on the side here and your subjects by hitting this edit button. You can hit this little gear and you can change the color of the background to whatever you'd like. There you can also rename your notes and trash the ones you don't like. I really like how you can also sort these by name, modified date, or created date. There's also a Notability shop. While Notability is a bit more expensive, I definitely think it's worth it, and there are definitely lots of add-ons you can purchase. Whether you want different themes, handwriting recognition, if you want a planner, I definitely will be investing in this as soon as it is released. Or if you want various stickers, you can do that down here on the shop button. If y'all would like to see what some of my notes look like, let's see. This is what some of my notes look like for my thermodynamics class. So as you can see here, they might not be the neatest nor the most aesthetically pleasing, but they definitely work for me. I typically have my title in one big bold color, and then I have a continuous subheading theme. So I've used this nice peachy color here as my subheading or my subtitles. I'd like to draw pictures here, and I definitely love the various shape tools and the line tools Notability has to help me with this. I typically like to make all of my definitions one color and like to star things that I definitely want to come back to. I make my equations one color so I can have them easily noticeable when I want to go back to my notes for whatever reason. And again, it is one continuous scroll, which I definitely love. Alrighty, that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day. So thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you all enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe right down below if you've not already. Let me know what other videos y'all would like to see, whether it's iPad and note-taking related, study related, college application advice, or just life in general. I really appreciate y'all's love and support, and I hope y'all have an awesome day. Peace out. Bye.